Hey, Trevor Matthews here with day 13 of my 30-day video challenge talking about training, education, mentorship. Today, I really want to talk about being resourceful and sourcing information. This is something that is so important in our industry, so important in many industries, especially with what's going on with the internet and the world today. You really need to find credible information. You need to find it quicker, and you want to make sure that information is from the correct sources. I was not good at this, finding information, sourcing information over the years. I've done some of it, but I was not good. I would just go to Google and write something in and then not sure if it's credible or not credible, who's it from. And I really learned how to get better at this through my wife. She did a Bachelor of Health Science degree, and she had to do a ton of research. And she really talked to me and showed me and helped understand that when you're doing research, it takes time. And you have to accept that when you start to get frustrated, you can't find what you're looking for, you got to step back, take a breather, and then continue on to do your work and do your due diligence. But she taught me there's really a hierarchy of sourcing information. And there's a few different layers on that. So the top one would be really like peer review information. Like, you have experts in the field who are doing research and spend years and years sometimes on writing these research papers on specific topics. One that I use quite often is Purdue University. They are great for me to understand a lot of stuff on CO2. Like, they've been writing papers for years and years. These top experts around the world writing these deep, in-depth papers that give me a better understanding because they're doing the research in different labs and different field settings, and it helps me understand. So that would be like a top tier source information, or finding an expert. I love working with a group called Future Green Now, Ryan Grunwald from that company. He is an expert in CO2, and he spent years and years and years learning about CO2, natural refrigerant, and he writes research papers on different topics of CO2. And for me, he's a credible resource on CO2 because I've worked with him, I've seen his work, and I compare it to, Purdue University e-publications that you can look them up, check out both of these sources. I'll put them in the link. So the next level down would be like the manufacturers who are building the equipment, who are designing and developing, doing the research on creating these components and these products. We'll do another example for CO2. And that would be where you would go and find, the instruction manuals, how things work, troubleshooting it. That would be the credible source of that equipment. So that's the next step down, is going to these manufacturers and finding that information. And sometimes it's not always easy. Some of these large manufacturers, they have massive websites, and they can be very confusing and frustrating. I know, I've worked and looked and researched at so many different ones, and it can take time to find what you're looking for, even if it's an easy document. A lot of times it's easier to search through Google and find a manufacturer document than going into the manufacturer's website and getting overwhelmed and just stop and looking for it. So you do have to take your time to find the right document to make sure it's the right information. The next step down on this hierarchy of sourcing information and being resourceful would be association. So, go into HRAI or ASHRAE or RSES and having that information, finding those reports from people who work with the manufacturers and work with those sources and those leading experts in the field, and writing these reports and documentations and trainings and information. So working with those associations, very important, because there's great information, and you should be signed up to their different newsletters like RSES. I get information from them all the time. HRAI and ASHRAE, all the time I get different information on new technologies that are coming out, because they're working with the manufacturer. Like I said, they're working with the experts in the field to get this information out to the public. And then the last step would be more on like the influencer side. People that have information about the industry, maybe do different podcasts and different research on the different steps of the associations, the manufacturers, and the industry experts, and these research groups who are getting information. And so that would be the fourth step. And there's more chains down below, but those are the main ways to be resourceful and get credible information, but you always need to do your research, and it takes time and you need some patience, because I was not really good at this at first, and I was not really patient. Oh, it took me 45 minutes to figure out this one thing, and it's explained very easily there. But over time, it gets easier, but you need to put the work in. You need to understand how to do research, and it's really important in the refrigeration industry to do that, because there's a lot of information out there, and you want to make sure you get the correct information, because when you start getting the correct information, it's going to make your job easier. And it's not only in the refrigeration profession, it can be in any profession at all. You want to be getting credible information. And so when you take a look at this hierarchy, it's going to make it easier. And then you can research from those different buckets, and then you can come out with, what it means to you, be able to explain it in your own words, because you're taking that knowledge from all those different sources and you're putting it together in how you believe you see it. And then when you do that, it's going to make it easier for you to do research, to understand this stuff, this knowledge that you get. So I highly recommend taking the time to learn how to do research, because it's not easy. It is a skill. But when you start to develop the skill, you're going to find things quicker and faster. It's developing the habits to do that. And it's really great when you can figure that out. It will take time. I'd love to hear your questions and comments, how you are resourceful. Where do you get your information from to really be effective at what you do? My name is Trevor Matthews. Let's get a conversation going.